started making homemade yogurt today. Now, why in the world would you make homemade yogurt when you can just go to the grocery store and buy it yourself? There's different reasons why you may want to get into making your own homemade yogurt, but I can sincerely say that I think that once you've tasted your own homemade yogurt, I don't think you're going to want to go back to store-bought, so trust me. But there's other reasons as well. It's not just about the taste. So when you look at your homemade yogurt, well, you have that live bacteria that's in there that's really good for your digestive health. You have your probiotics that has many health benefits as well. So maybe you want to go read up on the benefits of probiotics, but it's really good for your digestive health. So that's one reason. You're putting good bacteria inside of your yogurt. You get to choose the ingredients that you have inside of your yogurt. Like, I haven't mastered the unflavored yogurt tartness yet. I haven't developed my palate to that extent. So I do add some things to my yogurt, but if you like a plain yogurt, like, you'll really enjoy this as well. I add extra ingredients to it, but they're natural ingredients and I know what's going in it. I flavor it with vanilla and I flavor it with maple syrup, and it's absolutely delicious. It's probably somewhere around half the price of what you will pay for your store-bought yogurt as well. So, like, all you need is your milk. So I have a 2-liter jug of milk, which would be like a half-gallon milk, and I buy the lactose-free because there's some lactose issues here. So I buy the lactose-free, which is a little bit pricier. It's around $6 here for 2 liters of the lactose-free milk. But and then all you need to add is your cultures. So I mean, my cultures that I purchase at a health food store are about $1.75 a packet. So you're looking at around $8 for probably somewhere around 6 cups of yogurt that it's going to make me. You're going to have less waste. So you don't have all those plastic containers that your yogurt is stored in. I just store my yogurt. I just happen to have some mason jars hanging around all the time. So I just store my yogurt in a mason jar that I reuse and reuse and reuse. So you're going to have less waste. As well, your store-bought yogurt, sometimes they'll have the artificial colors and artificial flavors added into as well. So it's choosing what's inside of the food that you eat. And I cannot emphasize again enough about the taste of the homemade yogurt. It's very simple to make homemade yogurt. You need very little equipment. You don't need to go out and buy a yogurt maker. I don't have a yogurt maker to make my own homemade yogurt. I just have a very important thing that you do need is a thermometer. You really need to be able to heat your milk to a certain temperature and to cool it down. So a thermometer is a must-have. But the rest of the stuff is stuff you just have hanging around your kitchen. Your pot, a whisk or a fork or a spoon, and jars to store it in. So it's very simple to make, and you don't have to buy the pricey, well, I don't think yogurt makers are that expensive, but you don't even have to go out and purchase anything extra than what you have laying around already in your kitchen. So let's move this over to the stove now and get this yogurt going. The first step in making your homemade yogurt is you have to start by heating your milk. So I just add my milk to my pot. Like I said, I'm doing a 2-liter batch. It's a half-gallon of milk. So I do 2 liters of milk at a time. And I've done 4 liters and I've done 6 liters as well. So you can, as long as you have the appropriate amount of yogurt cultures, the bacteria cultures to put in, you can make as large a batch as you want. You can even make a smaller batch and just do a 1 liter of milk to make your yogurt if you just want to try it at first and make sure that you're not wasting. And so 1 liter of milk is about 4 cups. So I heat my milk at about a medium to medium high temperature on the stove. You don't want to put it too high because you don't want to scorch. You don't want it to burn at the bottom of your pot. And the first step is you need to heat your milk to 180 degrees. So that's why it's important that you have a thermometer, and make sure that it doesn't sit at the bottom of your pot, because then you're going to be registering the temperature of the element underneath your pot. So you need to make sure that you're stirring your yogurt pretty constantly, because milk easily sticks to the bottom of your pot, and to keep your eye really closely on the temperature. The reason why we heat the milk in making yogurt is because it improves the texture and it thickens your yogurt. So you'll have a much thicker and creamier end product of your yogurt when you heat your milk. What happens when you're heating your milk is that during the fermentation, the bacteria produces lactic acid. It causes the milk protein to denature and coagulate, and this traps the fat. So you're going to end up with a nice, richer, thicker, creamier yogurt by heating it. I do heat my milk because I find it gives me a really nice product. It lasts for about 10 to 14 days in the fridge, I'm going to say at least, and it's delicious. So if you have a thermometer that will alert you when you get to the desired temperature, you can actually do your yogurt inside of a crock pot. So you place your yogurt inside your crock pot and you're going to put it on high, and you just leave it there with your thermometer in. And this, to heat it up to 180 degrees, can take maybe, well, you're going to want to check, because I find crock pots are really different, and I've done it this way as well in the crock pot, but I just like to do it this way on the stove. I find it takes me maybe, I'm not sure, 10 minutes to heat it up, as where the crock pot I'm constantly going over and checking it. But if you just want something where you can just put it in and leave it and forget about it, you can also do it in the crock pot as well. So that's another way that you can heat up your milk. So my milk is now at my desired temperature. I've got 83 degrees Celsius or 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So now what we need to do is we need to get this to cool down. So I'm going to show you how I cool it down. As you may or may not know, I like things to go fairly quickly. Now that we've heated our yogurt up to 180 degrees, what we need to do now is to bring it back down to somewhere between 112 degrees Fahrenheit to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, or somewhere around 46 degrees Celsius. If you put your bacteria in your yogurt when it's too hot, you're going to kill it, and it's not going to ferment like it's supposed to. So it's really important to cool down your milk once you've heated it to 180 degrees. I like this process to go a little quicker. I put some cold water in my sink, and then I add some ice, and then I put my pot inside my sink, and I add my thermometer again. Then I stir, so the cold milk that's in contact with the pot gets stirred in, and everything cools down a little quicker. We're cooling this down so we can add our cultures to it. Now that we've got this to the desired temperature, what we need to do now is to add our yogurt cultures. Now, if you can't find yogurt cultures, what you can do from one batch to the other, if you've made previous batches, is to save a little bit of yogurt from your previous batch before you add any flavoring to it at all. So once your yogurt has fermented, save some. If you're making like this 2 liters, you'll probably need somewhere around 1/4 cup of your raw yogurt to start another batch. If you don't have the yogurt cultures, if you don't have anything saved from a previous batch, you can always buy a raw, like a unflavored yogurt from your grocery store. Just make sure that you're getting the kind that has like the probiotics added to it, or that you look in the ingredients and it does have like active yogurt cultures in it. So what we need to do, I'm adding 5 grams of yogurt cultures per liter. So I have 2 liters. So I'm going to be adding both envelopes. So 10 grams in my 2 liters. So 10 grams in like a 1/2 gallon of milk. And I just make sure to stir it really well so there's no lumps or anything in it. And it gets nice and frothy like it was on the stovetop. So this is our cooled milk that is somewhere between 112 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, or 46 degrees Celsius. If your thermometer is a little finicky like mine, you won't switch. With a yogurt maker in this step, you would transfer your jars, you would transfer your milk into the jars, put it in your yogurt maker, and it would keep your temperature at a certain amount to ferment your milk. I don't have a yogurt maker. If you wanted to, you could transfer it right away to jars, so the fermentation process will happen inside your jars. I leave it inside of my pot because once it's fermented, I find it a little bit too thin, and maybe it's because I use a skim milk. So you can make it with a skim milk, a 1%, 2%, a whole fat milk. I use it with a skim. So I think because it's skim, there's not as much fat, so it's a little thinner than what I want. So then I drain it a little bit. So I'll show you how I do all that a little bit later. So I put the cover. Your milk needs to stay warm or lukewarm, or some people will put it in their oven. You could heat up your oven, and then I would turn it off, because I know somebody who forgot their yogurt in the oven, or forgot they had yogurt in the oven and turned it on and set the towel on fire. So I do it like this. I wrap it in a nice big thick blanket while it's right after I put my bacteria in, and I put it inside an insulated cooler. This one's perfect. It's not too big, and so I just drop my pot right inside. It's a perfect fit, and I just zip it up. And when I open this again in 10 hours, I can still feel the warmth. And for me, this works perfect. I leave my yogurt in here fermenting for about 10 hours. The longer you leave it, the thicker it's going to get, but the tangier it's going to get as well. So I leave it around 10 hours, and I find that it's perfect at 10 hours. So we'll check back again in 10 hours to see what our yogurt looks like. The yogurt has been fermenting for about 10 hours, and now it's time to see how it looks. So I haven't opened it. I never open it because I want to make sure to keep the heat inside the cooler. So I'm going to open up the cooler, and I still feel some heat inside. So that's always good. And we're going to remove this from inside the cooler and unwrap it. So let's have a look at how our yogurt is looking. So I'm going to remove the cover. All these bubbles on top, probably because of all the whipping I did. So see how when I run my spoon through it, it's got quite a thick consistency. You can see some liquids coming through there, and that's the whey of the milk. So I know that if I give this a good stir, that the yogurt is going to be a lot thinner than I'd like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some of the liquid from inside the yogurt. So let me show you how I do that. The way I make my yogurt a little bit thicker is that I take a colander and I put a cheesecloth in it, and I set that over top of a pot. So you don't want your colander right in the bottom, so you want it to be able to drip down inside of the pot. I know from experience from making yogurt that it usually takes around 30 to 45 minutes for the yogurt to drip to the consistency that I like. So this is all going to depend on your personal taste. You may not even have to do this at all. You may like the yogurt exactly the way it is once you take it out after the fermentation stage. So it's really a trial and error. So I know that I like a little bit thicker. I don't like a thick Greek yogurt, but if you'd like it, the longer you leave it and the more liquid that's removed from it, the thicker your yogurt will be. And you can bring it to the consistency of a Greek yogurt if you like. And you can even bring it to a consistency so thick that you can use it in substitute in certain places as a cream cheese. So if you're making a dip that calls for cream cheese, you can use your yogurt cream cheese that you've created yourself. It's a little bit of a healthier alternative to the cream cheese in certain recipes. Now I have never tried this making like a cheesecake or anything like that, but I'm sure if you go do some searching online, you'd be able to see if anybody has ever tried that for a cheesecake and how the results were. So what the first thing to do is to transfer this yogurt over to the colander to get some of the liquids removed from it. And once all your yogurt is inside of your colander, all we need to do is wait. All right, so now the yogurt has dripped through, and I probably took out somewhere around 1.5 to 2 cups of the whey from the yogurt. Now, if you're a little concerned maybe that you took out too much, or what I do sometimes is I put it in a container and I'll put it in the fridge, because your yogurt will thicken up. Keep that in mind, that it will thicken up a little bit more once it's in the fridge. So if you feel that you may have taken out too much, I just keep it in the fridge for a day or so until I have a chance to give it a real good try. That way, if the yogurt is a little bit too thick, then I can just stir back some of that liquid that you got out of your yogurt when you strained it, and it'll be perfect. Now, I don't know if you can see, like the back of my spoon is kind of looks like a little grainy. And this is why when I get to this step that I really like to use a whisk to stir it up to get it nice and smooth and creamy. One other note when you're letting it drip through is don't try to stir it, don't try to squeeze it, don't try to make it go a little bit faster if you want to separate it to thicken it a little bit. You will be losing some of your yogurt that will fall into the way. So just let it drip naturally, do something else, forget it. And if you do forget it for too long, it's really simple. Just pour some liquid back in and the problem is solved. So what I put into my yogurt to flavor it is really simple. I just add some vanilla and I add some maple syrup. So you can add whatever it is you like, if it's just sweetened with fruit, or you can just do it as you go. As you take a bowl of yogurt, add some fruit. I'm just gonna go slow. I'm not quite sure. I usually make like 1.5 gallons when I'm doing this, so I just kind of did like 2 liters, so like, is that 1/2 gallon or? So I'm not quite sure how much to put in, so I'm just gonna, and what I do is I kind of taste it as I go. So you can do the same thing. So what I've got here is about 1/4 cup. You may find that a bit too much, but I do like a little bit of sweetness to the yogurt, so I'm gonna try this and see how I like it. And I always get lots of spoons dirty because I'm one of those people who likes to taste as I go. I don't like to overdo it or underdo it, or I usually taste as I go, and so I just whip this until it's nice and smooth and there's no more of that granular look to it. I'm gonna taste, but it's probably not quite where I want it yet. It's not bad actually, but it's still missing a little bit. And you know, if you would prefer to have your yogurt plain, but someone else in your family won't eat it plain, then you know, you can just not add anything to it and just add it to your bowl as you go. So it's really versatile. Everybody can make the yogurt the way they really like it. Perfect. So now that I've gotten my yogurt to how I like it to taste, I am going to transfer it into my container. So like I said, I save my yogurt in mason jars. It's made of glass. I can reuse them, wash them. There's no waste. Now I know what you're thinking. It looks thin, but trust me, when you put it in the fridge and it gets cold, it's going to be a lot thicker than what it is now. So I'm not concerned at all by how thick it is. So I have ended up with, I guess 1 quart size and 1 pint size jar of yogurt following my 2 liters of milk. So my 1/2 gallon. So this is how much yogurt I've ended up with. I'm really looking forward to eating this. I hope you've enjoyed what I've showed you today. You need to trust me. Once you've tasted your own homemade yogurt made exactly the way you want it, I think you'll have a hard time going back to store-bought yogurt. So just give it a try. It's very simple to make. If you like this content, if you like the video, leave me comments in the comment section. I'll gladly answer any questions you may have. If there's something that you'd like to see me try out, let me know and I'll see if I know how to do it. If you like the content, don't be shy. Hit the subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. And check in again soon to see what other projects I'll be making.